Hello, I'm John Brink and podcasting from beautiful Prince George, British Columbia. Prince George is the capital, I call it, of northern British Columbia, and for all those people from around the world, an absolute fabulous place. I have a special guest today. Her name is Amy Beeman. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Amy, you kind of originated in Prince George. You were here for a long time, and tell us a little bit about that, your background and your early start.
My connection to Prince George. I was born and raised in Prince George,
Okay.
and I grew up in Prince George, and then I moved away to go to school, and then I moved back to Prince George, and then I moved away to travel, and then I went back to Prince George. And then I traveled again, then I went back to Prince George. It was sort of obviously it was my home, but it was almost like my homing beacon as well.
Right. And so did you study here in Prince George or did you go elsewhere?
I went to elementary school at Austin Road Elementary,
Okay.
and then I went to Kelly Road. And after high school, I moved to New York for a year to study acting,
Wow.
which was a bit of a jump from Lilac Crescent on the Hard Highway to, Broadway.
I would say.
And then I moved to BCIT and took broadcast journalism. And then what did I do after that? Then I went back to Prince George. In between years at BCIT, I worked at CKPG as the fun chaser,
Right.
which was one of the best jobs ever. So much fun.
And that's the radio
And
station.
yeah, it was 550 CKPG at the time,
Right.
many years ago.
Yeah.
And then I finished at BCIT. I moved back to New York for a while. I decided I didn't want to get a real job and became a nanny in London for a while. And then I moved back to Prince George and started working again at CKPG, the radio and TV station.
As a broadcaster.
At first, I started in the creative writing department, actually. So I was writing
Okay.
commercials and PSAs.
Right.
And then I would fill in on the morning show when the morning show co-host was away, and I would work with Mike Benny.
Okay.
And then that job became open, and I took that on full time.
Wow. And you said PSA. What does that mean?
Oh, sorry, public service announcements.
Okay.
So a commercial would be anything like a for-profit company, and a PSA
Right.
is usually a charitable thing.
Yeah. Now, when you went to New York to study and to work on Broadway, did you have in mind to go into theater?
Yeah, the goal was to sort of work on Broadway. I lived on Broadway. I didn't actually work on Broadway at any point in time. But it was a pretty amazing experience to have my mom drop me off on 77th and Broadway in Manhattan, and I went to
Amazing.
school and I worked. It was amazing. And the best part is, this is always the best part, the people I met. There were 3 of us that met up in New York 4 years ago for a little mini reunion that we'd all gone to school together 20 some odd years ago there.
Wow. And so and then in the radio you were in for how long in radio here altogether?
Altogether, probably 5 or 6 years,
Right.
sort of in and out of working behind the scenes and then on the morning show.
And then you did some theater here as well with Judy Russell, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I was in the first Jesus Christ Superstar that the studio did. I also worked with Bonnie Mathers with Excalibur, and we did Grease, and I helped behind the scenes with Brigadoon. It was a pretty awesome time to be working full time and still have the energy to do a show in the evening.
Unbelievable. And those were quite some productions because I remember both of them, and that were major productions. And
Yeah,
Judy and Bill are amazing, and her mother are
absolutely.
amazing individuals, and are a very big part of Prince George, right?
Huge, and a huge part of my life too. I grew up dancing at Judy's studio.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite people in the world I met dancing at Judy's studio.
Yeah, so did my daughters, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did. Now, your husband's name is Mark,
Yep.
and then you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you got a boy and a girl twins, and then you got an adopted son, Stanley.
Yeah, so I have
From
3 kids that feels like 17 sometimes.
yeah. How old are they, Amy?
Lucy and Sam just turned 13, so off
Yeah.
to high school
Yeah.
this year.
Quite a
And
big deal.
Stanley, huge year. And
Yeah.
Stanley, it will be 10 in October, so he's 9 right now.
Yeah. Beautiful. All at that,
Yeah.
all at that age, where they require a lot of attention.
I know I keep thinking, as they get older, it'll get easier. And some things absolutely get easier. Like I can send them to the store with a Visa now to do
Yeah.
some minimal grocery shopping.
Yeah.
But other things just get so much harder.
Yeah, I find that with my daughters, they have their kids are about the same as yours, and
Yeah.
then going to soccer and going here, there, and piano lessons or whatever. They and then my youngest daughter in particular is a teacher, and and in addition to that, she's a busy lady.
Well, yeah, she's got her own kids plus then 30 others, right?
Exactly.
No, teachers, I bow down because even just today we were trying to do some homework with my 9-year-old and like 15 minutes in, I
He
give
said,
up.
"I'm
I
done."
don't know how teachers do it. Yeah, I don't know how teachers do it all day, every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that I found very interesting about you is that you're very much into art, to dancing, to obviously communication. Has always been a big part of your life. But also, you are a writer, an author,
Yeah.
and I believe you wrote this book here.
Look at you with a copy of my book. Yes, Unwrap Your Dreams.
And it's beautiful, So tell us about the book. How did it all come about?
So the book came about. So Stanley, my son, who is 9, moved here from Haiti just after his 6th birthday.
Right.
And he would sometimes say that he had nightmares, but he slept through them. It wasn't like he had night terrors where he was screaming. He would just wake up in the morning and say he had a bad dream.
Right.
So I told him that if you're having a bad dream, you can change your dream. I said,
Exactly.
if you want Batman to come help you, or Spider-Man or Superman, or if you don't like what's happening, just say, nah, I don't like this. I'm going to have another dream now.
Exactly.
So the whole idea of the book, Unwrap Your Dreams, is that every
Yeah.
night you have infinite gifts around you.
Right.
And you can unwrap a dream and go on that adventure or have that experience. And at any point in time, if you're done with that one, you can pick up another gift and unwrap it and start a new adventure.
Exactly. And in this one in particular, it's so unique I looked at the book and it's so uniquely different from what I usually see. And it is so well written that, it's easy for children to follow because the pictures more or less, the words in the pictures are similar, as I go through it. Is this available to people that are interested in it?
Absolutely. You can go to my website, which is amybeeman.ca, or it's at bookstores locally. You can also find it on Amazon, I think, but it's easiest to just order it on my website.
Right. Okay.
But Christina is the illustrator, and she is a woman I found online who lives in Georgia. And she brought
Amazing.
my words to life. I knew I wanted fairies dancing on one page, and I was drawing stick figures, and she would sketch something out and say, like this? And I was like, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Like her images are gorgeous.
So you send
Yeah.
her the words, and then she drew the pictures to follow
Yeah.
the words. more or less.
I had some ideas of what I wanted. I knew, like, I wanted a boy roaring with some lions, but she really brought it to life. And the book rhymes. So each page has a rhyming scheme. And my girlfriend sent me a video of her daughter, who she has read the book so often to, that her daughter has memorized it.
Right.
So she's only 3. She can't read, but she'll go through each page and say the words because she's remembered it because it's sort of sing-songy and lullaby.
Right. I remember it with my grandchildren, that we have 4, boy, girl, and that I used to read to them. They just loved it. And a book, this style in particular, that the pictures follow the words, makes it so unique for young people in particular, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, all 3 of my kids got to choose which page they wanted to be represented on.
Right.
So my daughter's on the dancing page, and my older son, Sam, is on the lion page, and then Stanley, my youngest son, is on the flying page.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you spent also some time in Haiti?
Yeah. So Stanley was born in Haiti.
Right.
So in 2019, Mark, my husband, and I, and Lucy and Sam, on Christmas Day, flew to Haiti to meet Stanley. And we were there for just over 2 weeks. And then we had to leave and come back to Canada. I went to visit him in May of 2020 with my mom.
Okay.
She flew to meet him, and we got to hang out for a week. And then we had to leave and come home again, because in the meantime, you're waiting for all the paperwork, all the legalities, all the hoops you have to jump through, which is to protect the child. I get it, but it was really hard to leave him again.
Yeah, obviously.
And then we were able to bring him home in December. So almost 12 months from when we first met him, we finally got to bring him home.
So when you first met him, he was about 6?
It was just after his 5th birthday when we met him. We brought him home just after his 6th birthday.
Right. So that was still a very good time in terms of remembering his homeland and at the same time being able to adapt to his new family. And in Vancouver then, or
Yeah, we were living in Vancouver. But when he moved here, he only spoke Haitian Creole. And we knew some words of Creole, but it's a hard language to learn. It's hard to learn any language when you're not immersed in it.
Correct.
And it's not a language that is spoken so greatly or vastly that you can find classes in it. So we were listening to CDs and audiobooks to try to learn some of the words. So I can't even imagine what it was like for him to get on a plane with essentially strangers that don't even look like him and land in, I mean, it wasn't Prince George, but still land in Vancouver in December and put on a winter coat when he'd probably never worn a coat in his life.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? And then all these people are around you and no one is speaking your language.
Right.
And then he moved here in December, and then in March was the pandemic lockdown.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Just one of the most critical periods, right?
It was, I mean, I know, I'm still speaking from a place of privilege. We were healthy and safe and economically fine, but holy cow, that lockdown was, it was a beast. Trying to explain to this kid that we used to go to Science World and we used to go to school and we used to play on the playground and we used to play, we live in a complex with 6 units with 13 kids and we all played together all the time. And then trying to explain to the kids who grew up and lived here and understood English why we can't play with each other was difficult.
Right.
Trying to explain that to a kid who's just learning English was exhausting to say the least.
Now you're Lucy and Sam were already 3 years older than him, and and was Sam 3 years older or Lucy?
They're twins.
Oh yeah, they're 20 both. Yeah, they were both. Yeah, so that probably was a big help because instantly he had friends, and obviously the best and I know it from myself. When I came to Canada in 1965, I couldn't speak the
Yeah.
language, and I didn't have any family here, so I was immersed fairly quickly into having to understand yes, no, and not much more. And it's
Yeah.
amazing how quickly someone will adapt to a new environment and a new language.
Well, and I think, like you said, him seeing Lucy and Sam, I think made it more, I don't know what the word is, but just more, it helped him to understand more. Like
Yeah,
he saw other kids and the way other kids had to act and the way we reacted and interacted with other kids. And it's like you said, you just sort of like learn by immersion. And so he not only learned the language, but also learned some behaviors as well.
right.
Like he didn't cross a lot of streets when he lived in Haiti, right? Like even
No,
just holding his hand to cross a street. And he was 6, but when a child moves into your family, whether through adoption or kinship or whatever, they have something that's called the family age.
right,
So although Stanley is 9, his family age is 3.5.
right.
So sometimes you have to try to remember that although he should be acting, or although he should have the knowledge of a 9-year-old, sometimes he only has that knowledge of a 3.5-year-old, right? Whether it's trying to figure out nuances of the world or figure out someone's tone in their voice or just know what you're supposed to do in a certain situation.
Explain that to me a little bit. I don't quite fully understand that.
Well, because not only did he have to learn the language when he moved
Right,
here, but
right.
obviously all the school work, things like
Yeah,
that. But it's also, I mean, when you take a 3-year-old to the playground right now, you stop. Did you look both ways? We
yeah,
talk to them like that.
yeah,
He
yeah.
didn't have that because he
Exactly.
didn't have of walking to the playground. He didn't know how to pump on a swing. Like when
Yeah, he
he
never
first
did
moved
that.
here, never, right? We took
No.
him to a playground and he hadn't been on a swing and he was squealing and my husband was pushing him. And I said, okay, maybe not so high. Like I don't think he's ever been on a swing before. Of course, he couldn't tell us that because he didn't
Yeah,
speak the language.
yeah,
So Mark
yeah.
slowed him down and he wasn't moving that much at all. But Mark slowed him down and then let go. And then Stanley was done. So he just let go and just fell right off the swing, right?
Oh
Because
my God.
he
He
doesn't
did.
know all of those things,
No. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if you were putting a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old on the swing for the first time, you would sort of hover around them, make sure they were safe.
Yeah.
Whereas when you do it with the 6-year-old, you're like, oh, he's 6, he knows. Well, he didn't know. Like it was
Yeah.
little things from how to pump and how to stop a swing
Yeah.
to obviously huge things like sitting in your own seat at a restaurant, not going to other people's tables. Like, right? It's just
Exactly. Yeah.
all these things that
Yeah.
he just didn't know.
No. So now then, he is 9. So he speaks the language well, I presume,
Yeah.
and he can.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly they adopt to it, right? In my mind.
It was funny. My husband jokes all the time that you could pick him up and drop him in the middle of Haiti, and 10 years from now, he still wouldn't be able to have a conversation. And
Right.
within 5 or 6 months, Stanley's blabbing away in English.
Yeah. Amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he's now going to school.
Yeah.
So is he in what school is he in? Is he in
He's just in the local elementary school. We're really lucky. It's really close to our house,
right?
and it's a great
Perf-
school.
Perfect, right?
Yeah. I think it's 200 feet from our house.
Oh yeah, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, very good. And then with Lucy and Sam, they are going to the similar school, or
They're going to different schools for the first time ever this year.
okay,
So Lucy wants to continue in French immersion. They were in French immersion, and Sam wants to
very
switch
good.
to English. So we'll have 3 kids at 3 schools this year.
That will keep you busy.
Oh, I'm like just trying to keep the school calendars. Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure.
So, Mark, what does he do? For
He is a city planner.
okay, oh that's a good job.
Yeah, and he's from Prince George too.
Is he from Prince George? Interesting, Beeman.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
probably have met him. Did he work for the city here or?
No, he just did it. He did environmental stuff. His last name, Beeman, is my maiden name.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he's worked in Prince George. He's worked in Vancouver. I mean, we've been in Vancouver now 18, 19 years.
Okay.
Can't believe it's been that long,
Hard to imagine, huh?
right?
Now, the other thing is you're quite into sports. Were or are.
Well, I run. That's about as coordinated as I get for sports.
That's pretty good. And still,
Well, for someone that can do like choreography and remember 18 or used to be able to remember 18 dances for a festival, like I joined an ultimate team one year
okay.
and it was fully, it was almost like those people that learn how to golf just so they can make business deals on the golf course.
Right.
I joined only because the general manager at the radio station I was working at was going to play. So I joined just to get FaceTime with him. Like it was a fully professional move.
Right.
He did not show up for a single game. Like I think he just signed up to pay the dues to help our team get off the ground.
Right.
And it was tons of fun. The people were great. I was horrific. Like in one game, they decided, my teammates decided that I was going to catch the disc and I was going to get us a point because everybody else on the team had done it so far that year. And they dedicated the entire game to trying to get me the disc. And finally, by the end, I was like, you know, you guys, like, I'm over it. I'm good. I will just, I don't need to catch it. And they were like, oh, thank God, because they were so tired of throwing it to me and me missing it.
So, as you now look forward, being a mother that will keep you very, very busy, are you still thinking about doing more writing, or the book is obviously a success?
Thank you. It was very surreal. The publishing process is not for the faint of heart. Writing the book itself was fun and it was a challenge, but it was nothing compared to the actual printing process.
Right.
Trying to find a printing company that would do justice to the images and the colors that we dreamed for the book, and to put it together, it's been a bit of a challenge, but it's been surreal seeing people read my book. I'm like, those are my words.
Exactly.
Like when I told you my friend's daughter memorized I'm like, oh my gosh, that's incredible.
It's your product that you produce, right? Your thoughts, your
Yes.
ideas, and your words,
Yes.
right?
And then Judy Russell turned it into a children's ballet this year.
Amazing.
I
How
flew
did-
up to Prince George to see it.
Wow. Amazing. Well, you've seen my book, right? That I did, this one here?
Yes, absolutely. I've read it.
Yeah, Against All Odds. So this was the first one that I did, and I agree with you. You know, the whole process. It's just not the writing, but the publishing and all the other things around it, and then the printing becomes a question of what kind of paper do you use, what kind of pictures should you be using, if any. And then what should be the physical size? What should it look like? You know, should this be in gold? Should it be black? Should it be something else? How about this one? You know, what should it look like on the back? What size should it be? What kind of a font should it be? And then all those things. And then autobiography. You know, you likely read that in the book. My academic background was not the best. I failed grade 3 and failed grade 7 3 times. But I was always a good writer, amazingly. And, you know, so, and then Against All Odds is for all intents and purposes an autobiography. And with an autobiography, I thought about it for 20 years. Several times I started it, stopped it, started it again, over and over again, and then I knew that if I didn't do it now, it would never happen. And then the other challenge is that with the autobiography, you cannot say, okay, I produced a book and I don't like it, so I'm going to write another one. No, there's only one. You know.
You're like, too late, live that life. This
Yeah,
is it.
that's what it is. And then the other one that you likely know is I'm also ADHD and proud of it. I call it a superpower. And, it was not until I was 57 years old that I walked into a store here, Books on 3rd. It's called now Books and Company on 3rd Avenue, actually. And I walked in there, looked at a book, and the name of the book was Driven to Distraction. And I still don't know why I picked it up, and I looked at it, and it was about ADHD. And I had no idea, never heard of ADHD. Started to read it, and I said, oh my God, that's me. And I wrote in Dutch in the book. Now finally I know who I am. I don't know if I sent you this one, did I?
I think it's in the mail right now.
Okay. So in any event, so I was 57 then, and it explained a lot of things to me, very late in life, really. And then
Well, that's it, right? At 57 to figure that out.
Yeah, and then it took me another 5 years before I went to my doc, the one that delivered my daughters and was a personal friend, and I went into his office. I was ashamed of it, so much stigma around ADHD that he said to me, hey John, why are you here? I said, I think I got ADHD. So we kind of spent some time together on it, and he said, well, I think so too. So then I started to look at Google, started to read up on it. The more I read about it, the more I was convinced not only that I did have it, obviously, and I was diagnosed, that I think it's a superpower, and it allows me to do things that I otherwise couldn't. I can do 20 things all at the same time and focus on one, and put the other ones all on the side and get to it whenever I'm ready for it. And then I felt so many people have been challenged by it that I felt I had to write about it. So that's where this one came in, ADHD Unlocked, and it has been quite popular, actually.
Yeah, I find it interesting because I think just knowing is such power. A friend of my son's was diagnosed with dyslexia in grade 4, and
Right.
all of a sudden it just made sense,
Yeah,
right? It made sense why it didn't make sense. And then because they knew why it didn't make sense, they could help it make sense for her.
exactly.
But
And
not knowing was just like, yeah, banging your head up against a wall.
And a lot of people are really troubled by it, and even people, I find it virtually, Amy, on a daily basis that I encounter people that said, I never knew, but I have it as well, or somebody in my family has it, or my friends. I say with this book, not only my book, there are other books out there, but these books are available all over the normal areas. Amazon is on our website. Is that you will, for anybody, you will encounter ADHD either in your personal circle or in your friends or in the wider circle around you, that you cannot avoid it. And the more someone knows about it, the more they can interact. And it's not limited to ADHD. It could be PTSD. It could be people, like in my case, that I was born in 1940 and grew up during the Second World War, that were affected by seeing too much, likely, and were affected by PTSD and trauma. All people that could well become slow learners, and it is helpful for them and other people around us. So I say to everybody, should get to know about it. A book like this one, and likely others, but I like mine in particular for obvious reasons, not only because I wrote it, what am I going to say? But the other part, that I wrote it with the idea in mind that the ADHD mind can open the book anywhere and start reading, and then kind of go through it in that fashion. Very typical for people that are ADHD. So, and I'm proud of that one. And then I did another one. I just want to show you that because you come to mind, that all the things that you have done, you were very successful in your careers that you did, either theater or all the other things that you have done, radio and all the things around it, and you give it pretty much all you got, and you have that passion. And so I wrote the book, Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream. And I believe it is so important for all the things that one does, that whatever you do, make sure that it is something you like to do. And so many people are there that say, I hate my job. I wish I would have done this, that, or the other thing. And say, do it now, or do whatever else in addition to it. So, because if you don't like what you're doing, then that will affect everything around your circle. So start thinking about something else. So in the book, we interview a number of people that have changed their career, in some cases quite late in life, actually, and have been very, very successful. And I look even at myself. I started writing, with ADHD, against all odds. I always think it took me 80 years to live it, 20 years to think about it, 2 years to write it, and so that was one direction that I enjoyed. The other one is doing podcasting. Be one of the most active podcasters, certainly in Canada, and I think you're number 148 actually. So
amazing.
We do about 13 to 15 podcasts a month.
Wow.
And some of them internationally, and then some of them in person, and others virtual, as we are doing here today.
I find the finding your passion statement interesting too, because I think a lot of people put a lot of stock into their passion has to be their career.
Right.
And I have one girlfriend, Laura, who is amazing, and she really likes her Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job. Is it her passion? Nope, but she really likes it, and she loves her coworkers.
Right.
Her passion is doing artistic things, whether it be doing shows. She is a phenomenal makeup artist. She does hair. She's incredible. That's her passion. But she loves it because she can do it as a passion and not be stressed about having enough jobs to pay the bills or getting enough clients in order to, pay her mortgage. She really likes her job, and then she has her passion outside of her job, which is, I think, another way that people need to look at it.
And I agree with you. And to a certain extent, you are doing that, I'm doing that. I love the lumber business. I grew up in that in Holland already.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for nearly 70 years. I started working when I was 14. I will be 83 on November the 1st, actually. So always worked in the forest industry. But then, I've been late in life, became very much active in writing and public speaking. And then the other one is going to the gym and competing, and all of that I love and I enjoy. And so I can have the passion in the lumber industry, but also in communicating through writing, speaking, and podcasting.
Yeah, and you can still sort of have a 9 to 5 job that you love, or at least really like, or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing to remember.
Yeah, and that is the point, right? So if you kind of look further then forward, Amy, so what other things do you see other than the children will keep you fairly busy, but you still will do other things because that's your nature?
Absolutely. So I got thrown like a curveball almost a year and a half ago and got let go from my job of 17 years.
Okay.
And that was a real punch in the gut.
Wow.
Because I am a good employee. I got great results I remember the date because it was the day after my husband's birthday. And 2 days before that, my boss emailed me to tell me that my next bonus would be on my paycheck because I'm such a good employee that I was getting my bonus. And then 2 days later, she walked me into the boardroom, and I got let go after 17 years. And that's where I really started. Well, not right away, obviously. It took months and months, but I want to really like my job, but I love the way you're also diversifying things. Like, I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket again
Right,
because
right,
that really kicked me in the derriere, to say the least, right?
right, right.
I was blindsided by it. I loved my job. I love radio. I love broadcasting.
So that was in radio then?
Yeah, 17 years with the same station.
And so, without going into details, but what happened is they just changed
They just do
personalities?
mass layoffs. No, they just do mass layoffs every 8 months. And I had managed to avoid it for X number of years, and my number was just up.
But
So it's
still,
been a
it
year and a
came,
half of
still, it was a major surprise to you.
100%. Like I said, 2 days earlier, my boss was telling me about my latest bonus because I was such a good employee. I was meeting the criteria outlined in my contract in order to get my quarterly bonus.
What a shock.
And so, I was dumbfounded. I mean, I texted my sister and I said, I just got let go. And she wrote back, from your job? Like, she was so dumbfounded. Anyway, yeah. So, but it's been a year and a half now of discovery. I've discovered I still love radio and I still love broadcasting. And I've been lucky enough to find other avenues to do that and other stations to work with, which I've been very grateful. It's also opened up some time. I've taken like a coaching course,
Right.
kind of like life coaching. And I've started working with a lot of working women and working mothers, which I can obviously
You're an expert.
understand. Yeah, exactly. I am
Yeah.
an expert in that, and helping them sort of rediscover their passions and things that they want to do. And it's been really rewarding. So, as you were sort of saying, trying things later in life and switching careers, as you were mentioning in your book,
Right.
I haven't necessarily switched careers. I've just sort of diversified my careers.
Oh yeah, well, it's great, right? So in a way, that's what I
Yeah.
did too. But on the other hand, the shock that you got of 2 days before somebody saying how great a job you were doing and saying, therefore, your quarterly bonus will be forthcoming here on your next paychecks, and then 2 days later saying we don't need you anymore. It's kind of, how do you get over that is the question. I write about that in my book, and what happened is with those things where, kind of falling down, and some of that is devastating, and then getting back up and starting over again anew or going a new direction is critical to success. Because if everything
Yeah.
was nice and smooth and there be no surprises like that, then the coaching would be difficult to do because in order to be effective, you've had some of those difficult periods for yourself to deal with.
Yeah, and I was lucky that I did have the gift of a bit of time.
Right.
Like when my lawyer was my old high school debate partner from Kelly Road. So, I had her on speed dial when I needed help from a lawyer. She helped me out. So I had a bit of time to sort of reassess.
Right.
And I'm not going to lie, it was hard. I mean, I would say almost 3 months, I was still glassy eyed and shocked. Like, I've never lost a job in my life, right?
No.
So it was very jarring. It was a huge ego blow.
Well, yeah.
Huge ego blow, right? Like, I think that I'm
Self-confidence.
good at something. Totally. It was shattered.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that I have an incredible support network, like just in my husband and my family and friends galore who are amazing. And yeah, but it's quite the process to build yourself back up. And like I said, I've been lucky that I've had a bit of extra time and I've had that privilege and luxury, but It's been tough, and it's a real lesson. When I get really down on myself, I try to think of what I want my kids to learn from me. And while it's okay to, I say this all the time, it's okay to feel your feelings. You're going to have feelings. You're allowed to feel them. It's what you do with those feelings that matter.
Exactly.
And so I try not to get too down on myself, because I would never want my kids talking to themselves the way I was talking to myself sometimes.
Exactly.
And I try to, yeah, look on, without sounding too cliche, but try to look on the bright side, look at the glass and think that it's half full instead of half empty,
Yeah.
and see what the next steps are. But it's been not, if I wouldn't have had the support network I had, I don't think I would have gone through it.
It would have been a tough one for you to get through it.
Really tough.
So what I did is, when I came to Canada, as you know already from my book, I got off the bus here. I was going to build a lumber mill. Couldn't speak the language, didn't know soul, didn't speak the language, and didn't have a job. So I had $25.47, and then the one thing to me that has always been a foundation is attitude. Avoid the negative, and then passion. To me, very, very important. And with all the things that I do, I give it everything that I get and that I got, and that's what I do. And work ethic is extremely important, but follows attitude, passion, work ethic, but follows is success. And and then I talk about that in particular in the book, Against All Odds. And Against All Odds, as you already know from the book, is not hurrah, hurrah, how successful John is, but in spite of it all, saying that stay the course, never give up. It's somewhat cliche in the terms of, that's what is the right thing to say, but to live it sometimes is hard. And even for myself, I had to go some of the more difficult periods, but if I hadn't done that, I would not have been able to do what I do today. And it was not the success parts of the stories that benefited me, other than for the obvious, but usually falling down, standing up, starting all over again, that became very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, yeah, we had a tough couple of years here. Like, it was, I mean, obviously Mike Benny, right?
Yeah.
He passed away the day before my dad did. They were both in the Prince George Hospice,
Wow.
and that was in February. And then the following March, that was when I had lost my job. And then 6 months later, not even 4 months later, one of my best friends, who I grew up at Judy's dance studio with, passed away.
Yeah.
And it was like I said, my support network, and a therapist and friends getting me through all that. And those parts of your book resonated with me, because all your failures. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Prince George. I know the name John Brink. I know,
Right.
And to me, when you see a name on on a fence or on a building, you just think success, success, success.
Right.
So it was really, I don't want to say nice, but encouraging to read about all the times you failed as well.
Exactly. And the challenges all along, right? And what I wanted to do is all the good, the bad, and the ugly. Things were not all that pretty at times either. And, and that to me was important. The other part that has always been important to me, Amy, and to you as well, I know that, is giving back to the community. And, and that to me has been important. And even actually as we speak, this kind of interesting, because CKPG's news will be on at 5 o'clock in Prince George, your radio station. And I was interviewed today on CKPG about, and this is something is close to your heart as well, the Prince George Animal Rescue, Noella Redpath and her husband Grant have done a lot for equine rescue and animal rescue in general. And about a month ago or so, they came to us. I've been supporting them for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years financially and with lumber, to help them with their amazing undertaking. They give with a passion. It's amazing what they are doing. It's helping animals of all kind of different description. But the problem they had, a real crisis. We got a phone call about a month ago. They had a crisis and they had no more hay, and the hay that they need for the winter would cost them $15,000.
Yikes.
And they didn't have it. Hay prices in particular have skyrocketed because of weather conditions and all the other things. A lot of people are short on finding hay in particular. So somehow we had to help them because they needed it now. It was a crisis. And so I got together with Celine Alpine from Canadian Tire and myself. So we put together $7,500 each, and we got them the hay. All those things are important. But what's nice to see is the CKPG gave us an opportunity to kind of showcase Nokella's and Grant's efforts, and then obviously us in terms of contributing, but also it gave me the opportunity, and I'm sure Celine as well, to say to the community, get involved, because now in particular, animal welfare is so much harder now than it was before COVID. Part of it is because of COVID and all the other things that have happened. A lot of animals are looking for forever homes and or for food or funding, and but that's on at 5 o'clock today, as we are interviewing today. So on CKPG.
That's fantastic. That would
Yeah.
be my dream job. I just want to be a full-time philanthropist. Or I could be someone's job, first-hand person where I just find all the charities and spend all that philanthropist money.
But you're still very much in the prime of your life. One of the best times in terms of with your 3 children, as they go now gradually into the schooling, will hopefully, in a way, although I don't see that with my children, that are very busy with our children or my grandchildren,
Yes.
are about the same age as you. They have to go to school, they have to go to soccer, they're going to go piano, and keeps everybody very, very busy. But still,
I know.
You have such an amazing background in terms of you're a very effective communicator. Obviously, you've seen the hard times and the challenges. You're coaching. You're well prepared for that. To help others that are challenged, and still you're at a point in life that all the years you have been in radio, it is just a matter of time until you're back to where you want to be, and so it is obvious to me it was not the quality of your performance. It was more that you got caught in whatever it is, but it didn't benefit them. I don't think so.
Thank you very much for saying so. Yeah, it's been quite a learning experience, and like I said, I just like to think that the kids have learned something through it too, and that's sort of what you're trying to do, right? Is set a good
Exactly.
example for your kids.
Exactly. Yeah, I think in the same time, I think there is good potential in this area where what you did is in writing this book that is so unique as to the words in combination with the pictures, that I'm not sure that there is a whole lot of books available for younger people in particular, that where pictures are shared with the words. And I think
Christine and I were very proud of how that came together, the illustrator and I.
Right.
And then, like I said, to see it on stage as a ballet, there were, I think, 117 kids in this ballet on stage. and I narrated it, and there were images from the book on, like, it projected onto the screen, and little kids dancing in front of it, and it was just, I mean, in my
Amazing.
humble opinion, the best ballet I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah, well, obviously. But even so, that Judy is also so immense, and Bill are so committed, right? And in
Yeah.
all the years, because my children went there, and they probably have been doing this for the last 30, 40 years, I think.
Well, the recital that my book was part of was their 40th year-end recital.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
Right? And I
unbelievable.
just think, I mean, that goes to show too, right? All the experiences that shape you. Like I was saying, some of my best friends still are people that I met at that dance studio. I'm working with one woman who I grew up dancing with. I have a potential job with another person I grew up dancing with. We're
Right,
already planning a friend's 50th birthday, a group of us that we all dance. Like, it's not just the dancing, it's the community.
right,
And it's my support network.
right. So if you then look forward, so you put
Hmm.
the radio thing in terms of being let go behind you now. So
Yeah.
oh, and obviously you have an amazing amount of experience in the time that you were here in the Prince George region, CKPG, and all the other things that you did. You probably have an amazing resume in terms of experience. You see yourself going into that you're already doing some of that now, but doing
Yeah.
more of that again.
Yeah, I think I quite enjoy right now, as we were talking about, like the diversity. I
Right,
really enjoy coaching. I really enjoy helping people with some communications work. And I really enjoy still hopping behind the mic or helping people out behind the scenes in radio.
right. The
I'm
other,
like you, John. I have too many passions. I have too many things that I want to do. There's not enough time in the day.
try them all, right? So the other part about it is that same as podcasting. I like the podcasting. It happened more accidental than anything else. I started in 2018 working with Shaw, and they have that spot flight or something they call it. The Shaw channel, and
Hmm.
so they invited us over there to do a program on BC forest industry, BC forest, the history of BC forest industry. So I did about 35 sessions there in their studio on Queensway, and
Yeah.
then COVID came, and that stopped everything. And then saying, "Oh my goodness, what do we do now?" Right? And then I already had this apartment, and then saying maybe we should have our own studio. And so we started working on that idea, and then created a setting like this. And when I was podcasting before, or with Shaw, I did it around a round table. And here, and it was actually one of my people, Scott, that came up with the idea, saying, well, use the couch and do it like casual.
Yeah.
And say, well, where are my notes then? Well, I don't need any notes. I seldom use them anyway, but it took me a while to get used to that. And so now it is just like you and me sitting in a restaurant, and we are friends, and we're having a discussion about a whole lot of things, right? And
Yeah.
and then from there on in, so we were still very early in the game, really, of podcasting. And as I already said, I think you won 48. So we probably we have a couple more this week, I think, and then we will be at 150. Which makes us very active, a very active podcaster. But
But
I
see how
like
you
it.
had to pivot? See, that's it. You had to pivot out of necessity, not choice.
Correct.
And then that just took you on a different path. And it's not to say one path is better or worse, it's just a different path.
Yeah, but I had to also kind of get used to it, and saying,
Hmm.
okay, because as you well know, if you're a broadcaster or if you work in radio, you cannot have all of a sudden you don't know what to talk about and you just kind of sit there, so you can't have that.
No dead air.
No dead air. And so what we usually do, I said about an hour, and and then we seldom edit our podcasting that we do. Okay, let me go this way. First, what we did is all the podcasting. So we have very good equipment, very good cameras, very good lighting, very beautiful background. And then, we have very good people. Jeff and Scott and Andrew are very, very good.
I could have used your people at my house. I had to set up here because it was the only clean part of my house.
I like that. So then, from there and then, then became a question of, okay, then we starting with it, and then gradually it build up, and and then it became more easier for me to interact, and we found more and more people. And now we are pretty active virtually, not only face to face. Prince George has, as you well know, an amazing amount of talent in a whole lot of different areas. And then, but we still wanted to go outside of Prince George and look at the Lower Mainland for one, and then started to look at possibly setting up a studio in Vancouver. But then the more we thought about it, the more we thought, how about virtual? Like you and me are doing virtual, and it's perfect. You can't virtually see the difference between virtual and live, and it works well. So we do international. We have done people from Sweden, Holland, Spain, Greece, Central Europe, the United States, several. So we do more and more people from around the world. And so we've been kind of looking around. There's an organization, I forget how they call it, Pod Watch, something like that. So we kind of looked at different podcasts or became a member of that group. I think it's Pod Match, M-A-T-C-H. And that you have to fill on a form, and that talks about your podcasting that you do. And then they post it. And I think I was looking at it the other day. I think they have something like 12, 13, 14,000 members. So when we posted it, we had as many as 150 requests for interviews. Some of them very interesting from around the world.
See, but that's when you just have to go and try it, right?
Exactly.
It's like writing a book. It's like starting a podcast. It's like a career change. It's like coaching. You can sit at home and you can practice and practice and practice and practice. And at some point, you're at the ledge and you just have to step off and try it. And you won't get any better, and you won't figure it out until you actually fail and try things. Yeah,
and I agree with you. And so what we're doing now, we're doing podcasting on a whole different lot of topics. It's not only lumber. I do lumber as well. I do obviously ADHD, but that's not most of it. Most of it is on all kinds of different topics that deal with motivational. It deals with all the issues under the sun that you can think of, and it makes it very interesting in my view.
Well, especially like you said, there's tons of people connected to Prince George that are extremely talented and have fantastic stories to tell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything else comes to mind, Amy, while you're still talking to us here? Not your podcast will come out tomorrow, I believe. So it doesn't take...
You guys are efficient.
We are. I believe so. Jeff, tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow. And then, and it will be watched all over the world. We have lots of people viewing. Some of them as many as 500,000, 500,000. We had actually one podcast where they did, I believe, 800,000 views. Unbelievable. So...
That's incredible.
Yeah. So we like it, and, so... Anyway, Amy, it was my pleasure to have you as a guest. Stay in touch. The next time you and Prince George, let us know when, and then we'll get together. Maybe get you back on the show again in another 12 or 18 months to see how the family is doing, and look forward to see how, what else I'm sure your life will be full of activity, and as we already heard, and it was my pleasure to have you on my podcast.
Thank you. Maybe I'll be coming up for another Unwrap Your Dreams ballet or something.
I like it. Thanks, Amy. Take care.
Thanks, John.